what if there was a way to use mirrors to understand and heal unconscious body minds with profound precision and detailed specificity? So Kristin in 2019 had created a variety of healing journey practices, and she had these handheld mirrors, and she would apply these practices anywhere from like 2 to 10 times a day, every single day for several years. Kristin in 2020 continued exploring mirrors, but with kind of a new focus. During 2020, Kristin went through the excruciating process of reconnecting her mind and body and helping heal the disconnection between her inner and outer realities. Kristin in 2020 had zero associations with her own self. She didn't understand the body that physically existed in relation to the experience she was encountering internally because of how disconnected everything was. There was hundreds of unique styles of dissociation, along with dozens and hundreds and thousands and millions and billions and trillions of other very unique health challenges, to put it very lightly. Kristin couldn't recognize her own face. Kristin couldn't recognize her own body. She couldn't understand that the self she saw in a mirror had a connection with the self that she was inside. They were totally independent realities that didn't have connections with each other. Kristin in 2019 continued these daily practices, practicing every morning and every evening and sometimes throughout the day for long extended periods of time. Sometimes it was a 2-hour session that she was applying these mirror practices, and it always held profound effects on her brain, and she could feel them immediately and afterwards. Kristin in 2020 took her mirror practices to the next level and had a mirror with her for everyday activities, including while she ate. And she tried to help teach her body to connect the self that she saw in the mirror with the self who was having a personal experience inside of her. And that was one of many different practices she had. So any kind of task that she was doing, she would have a mirror there with her, and she would try to create new connections with herself. If she was working at her desk, there were mirrors on either side. If she was outside, she would take the mirror with her and have the mirror propped up wherever she was with whatever she was doing. So Kristin in 2020 had all these different mirror practices. By the end of 2020, Kristin had fully connected her mind and her body. She was able to recognize the physical body that she saw in relation to the experience she was having internally. And by this point, all of the different states of consciousness were starting to experience life together rather than independently of one another. The neurobiological social engagement system had broken down the walls that kept parts ostracized from one another and kept neural wiring activating independently rather than unanimously in a united fluid way throughout all systems simultaneously. And so Kristin was starting to heal. And by this point, Kristin was completing the stages of neurodevelopment that had been halted from early childhood trauma. And you can explore more about these details in other parts of my known documentary series. Right now, I want to share about the journey of Kristin and mirrors and how it's led to this new discovery. Kristin at the beginning of 2021. Okay, so I'm here. I've made all this progress. I can't remember my life. And it actually took Kristin quite a while to recognize that she didn't have access to memories from her entire life, because you can't really know about what you don't know about. You can't recognize that something's missing because it's not there. And so Kristin actually took several months before realizing that she could not remember her entire life at all. And that began a whole new period of healing and exploration. On this journey, Kristin in 2021 began exploring mirror practices. But at this point, Kristin was exploring mirror practices for the very first time Because Kristin, from 2017 through the end of 2020, could not create conscious, explicit memories in relation to a sense of self. And so Kristin, at the beginning of 2021, did not have any conscious memory of working with mirrors in the past. So Kristin in 2021 started to play with mirrors for the very first time that she explicitly, consciously knew about. It was a brand new exploration of mirrors that felt like it had never happened before, because it was happening to a completely new sense of self because of all the brain-body reconstruction that had been happening over the many years. So Kristin, at the beginning of 2021, started to play in mirrors. Here I am, Kristin, at the end of 2021, and mirror practices have been happening for 2 to 8 hours every single day this entire year. And I'm now at a point where I can remember my entire life fluidly, and my memory works better than it ever has in my life. The things that I can remember on a day-to-day basis and the things that I can remember from 20 years ago are increased to such a profound degree, it's difficult to fathom that I ever struggled with memory stuff. But just a couple years ago, Kristin couldn't create new conscious explicit memories at all. It was really interesting, actually. You know how on some phones it says, you have a new memory? Your little photograph application pops up and it has like a little scrapbook memory of you from a few months ago or a year ago or something, and it shows you pictures from that day. So that would come up on Kristin's phone just a couple years ago, and she would have like this sense of just like relentless anger, because she's like, if only it was that easy. I can't create a new memory, because her phone said you have a new memory, and she couldn't access any of her memories, and that was frustrating and terrifying. Absolutely beyond imagining terrifying. And so now, not only can I remember my entire life, but my memory works better than it ever has in my whole life. And all of it, from 2018 all the way through present day, all of that healing, helping all the different states of consciousness, over 20 plus independent people come home to each other and to brand new moments by reconstructing how they instinctively experience the unconscious body-mind, reconnecting the mind-body disconnect, helping bridge the inner and outer realities, helping to heal brain hemispheres, helping to heal all the different trauma responses, and recovering, reorganizing, and rewriting neural data from my entire life. All of that was achieved through these specific practices that I will be sharing with you, this brand new discovery in my Implicit Revelations case study. So that's the backstory of mirrors. There's also a backstory about healing internal attachments.